given your hatred of Philadelphia.
It was more of a velour onesie than a jersey, but yes. Well, I was in a phase where just sort of like any of that throwbackish stuff I thought was cool.
All right, we've got some confirmation here that it was a Tattermunge.
Tattermunge, yeah.
And the belief is that you activated Mutavault to attack and then play Tattermunge and pass. That's why the free mana was tapped.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds right to me. And for a quick check,
knocking Carlos down to, I would guess, 16.
The Philly cheesesteak place you were talking about was Jim's.
Okay.
On South Street.
Yes.
Is what people have mentioned here on Twitter.
No, that's the wrong one. It's the Maniac.
Oh, yeah, not the Witch. Tattermunge Maniac.
No, yeah, that card you brought up, one, it costs 2 mana, and 2, it has a power, not a drawback.
That's
so
right.
It was not in my deck.
The Munge is the card. The Munge Maniac is what you're looking for. That card stunk. Look at it.
Do you know I had 4 of these in the sideboard of a Grand Prix that I cashed that was extended? Can you believe that? How am I not in the Hall of Fame? when I think about the Grand Prix top 32s that I have with the cards that were in my deck, really paints a picture.
That you brought that for a specific matchup?
Yeah, so it was a Lava Spike deck, and Fairies was like the blue splash black or mono blue Fairies deck was very popular. And they typically cut like all of their creature removal against you and weren't very good against creatures in the first place. So turn 1 Tattermunge Maniac and you have a Mutavault, and it's like their counters are no good. They can't really kill it. And that matchup was this was after playing about like 100 matches against Mark Herberholtz and losing 95 of them. And then I tried the Munges in the board and I won about 40 or 45%. Thought that was good enough. Played in the Grand Prix, played against Fairies 5 times. Went 3-2 against Fairies. The Tattermunges were very good against them. And there you go.
Love it when a plan comes together. Let's start building a prison, shall we? First things first, a Damping Sphere.
Very cool against Storm.
Yeah, super fun.
Extremely. Edward's here going to take a minute on this turn.
Damping Sphere card we can take a look at here in just a moment as there's a Ship and Reef. And now Baral, Chief of Compliance.
As a reminder, Magic players, if you're in
remember, this War Prison deck has been popularized some by Dominic Harvey, some by Ari Lax. It's starting to get a move on here in the format. Key piece to the puzzle is Damping Sphere. 2 mana. If a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces colorless instead of any other type and amount. And each spell a player casts costs 1 more to cast for each other spell that player has cast this turn. So really good against the Storm strategy.
And with Whir of Invention, you kind of have the luxury here of playing a couple one-of artifacts to KO certain opponents. This Damping Sphere is exactly that. Syed, fortunate enough to draw it in the opening hand. And does Edwards have anything in the deck to get a permanent off of the battlefield?
Repeal.
Okay.
And 2 unsubstantiates.
Okay, that's
so
legit.
3 ways to do it.
That's way more than Storm typically has.
And there's an unsubstantiate in hand right now, along with a Past in Flames, a Desperate Ritual, looks like a Pyretic Ritual. Actually, no, it's going to be 2 Desperate Rituals, pardon me, and a Manamorphose. So it looks like, yes, there are ways to handle this. Well, there goes Unsubstantiate via the Collective Brutality. Now this War Prison deck, it will remind you of Lantern a little bit, but it is different. The goal is still the same, to lock out a player from being able to do anything of relevance. And it does it via artifacts.
But not locking out the draw step the same way.
Yes. This is a Thopter Foundry. Pass the turn back. So Xana's without some lands, it appears. Now here's a Manamorphose. That looks like that may have just been on the end step just to do a little bit of cantripping. And now here's another Manamorphose because that one costs 3. Now it's time to untap and draw.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now instead of the Manamorphoses being net mana, they're sort of net down mana because they aren't advancing your mana at all. They're just a sunk cost.
The tough thing here for Nick is this is a hard way to do it. He's got to find enough substantiate or a repeal to get Damping Sphere off the battlefield. There's a welding jar. But if he does find a way to bounce that, then this game gets pretty darn easy. And I believe this is a Gifts Ungiven. Yeah, it looks like he might go towards Empty the Warrens, perhaps.
So this is an interesting spot here for Edwards. So there's an instinct here to go get the stuff that bounces plus Past in Flames, but it seems really hard to generate enough mana to do everything. I almost want to get 2 lands and 2 cantrips or something like that.
Just to be able to play more Magic.
Right, because you're not under that much pressure, and if you're able to remove the Damping Sphere from the battlefield, you're ready to go right away. I mean, you should have a kill rolled up, so why not just kind of like leave yourself with stuff to draw to? And it makes me nervous going and trying to get Empty the Warrens against a deck built around Ensnaring Bridge. Now, against Syed's been missing land drops and is probably pretty far away from getting Hellbent, so maybe you don't mind, but my instinct here was just to get some mana, get some ways to draw some cards, and leave yourself drawing to one of your bounce spells to manage the game that way. Edwards has gone a slightly different path here. Looks like he has gotten a backup copy of Gifts Ungiven. He went and searched out some of the bounce cards. Syed wisely put those in the graveyard. So Edwards has a Gifts Ungiven and Empty the Warrens to show for his trouble.
Looks like Welding Jar will be sacrificed to the Thopter Foundry. Here's a Thopter. Get back the Sword of the Meek. And so now here's a Thopter Sword combo that we don't see a ton of in Modern.
And I think this lets Syed put on a lethal double block.
I think that's true.
And if Edwards loses a reducer, then that makes grinding through the Damping Sphere even more challenging.
And now Brawl down. Whoop, there's a backup Brawl, so it's not the end of the world. Now we head back over to Zan here in just a moment, I'm sure.
And now this is my concern from the line previous. Edwards just does not have a whole lot of bounce left in his deck to draw to.
So I think just explaining what the double block was there last turn as we head back over to Zan. Zan's got, a little, not a huge lock here, but in some matchups you don't need a ton of lock pieces to build the prison. Sometimes it only takes 1 plus a way to win, which it looks like this game might be good because he doesn't really have much else going on. Well, there's a land finally, Darkslick Shores. Here's an attack for 2 in the air. And Zan will pass the turn back over to Nick Edwards. Nick Edwards has a lot of cards in hand, a lot of ritual effects in hand. But again, when there's a Damping Sphere on the battlefield, it's not ideal. The cards that are revealed there, Gifts Ungiven, Empty the Warrens, and looks like 2 copies of Desperate Ritual. But those won't be able to power through Thopter plus Sword, especially if Zan just keeps drawing more lands.
Yeah. No, Edwards' hand right now is kind of it's a road to nowhere. You can still cast the gifts that you got off the first gifts, but what are you really getting at this point? What are you interested in?
And
four lands, maybe?
Yeah. And if you just pass the turn, Zan gets to do this and say, okay, I'll make 3 more tokens.
Well, that's the other thing is it's possible Syed can actually pull himself out of grape shot range in doing all this too. Because every Thopter Foundry activation comes with a life.
So Zan will draw. we'll take a look at Thopter, Foundry, and Sword of the Meek, so viewers at home can become a little bit more familiar with the combo. So Thopter Foundry here, it's a little wonky on the casting, but ultimately, you use a colorless mana, sacrifice a non-token artifact, create a 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature token with flying. You gain a life, which, okay, great. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. The equip cost is 2, but you're not really paying that with Sword of the Meek. You'll pay the casting cost sometimes with 2 mana. Whenever a 1/1 creature comes into play under your control, like, say, I don't know, a 1/1 Thopter, you return Sword of the Meek from your graveyard to play, then attached to that creature, which means you can make infinite 1/1s, infinite being the amounts of mana that you have available to, and then, of course, one of them will wear the equipment, so one of them will be a 2/3.
Yeah, and the way the timing works is the sword goes to the graveyard before the Thopter is on the battlefield.
Because you've got to sacrifice something.
Yep.
Looks like 4 red mana floating here for Nick. This looks like he's going to try to power through this somehow.
I mean, he can empty for an amount, but that's just not going to outpace the sword.
Yeah. I think he realizes that, and he's just going to concede the game because it will not outpace the sword that's making just as many tokens but also gaining life.
Yeah, I think the initial I don't know if Edwards quite had a grasp of how big of a crisis the Damping Sphere was there. I think the initial Gifts Ungiven just needed to go get either 4 lands or 4 cantrips or a blend of those 2 things, try to play some more magic and hope to draw to a bounce spell. But the Gifts Ungiven just left him with another Gifts he couldn't cast, and then be the Warrens that didn't go anywhere, and Syed able to easily win game 1 in spite of missing a bunch of early land drops.
Well, these players will take a look at their sideboards. We'll do it with them, starting with Nick Edwards, who's got 3 pieces of the puzzle. 2 Abrade, 2 Ravenous Trap, a Dismember, an Echoing Truth, an Empty the Warrens, a Flame Slash, a Giga Drowse, a Lightning Bolt, a Ravenous Trap, and a Shatterstorm.
So the Shatterstorm and the 2 Abrades are really great here, and I also like pieces of the puzzle. If you think that Zan's going to kind of slow down your ability to combo out with Damping Sphere or something similar, if the game goes on a little bit longer, I like pieces as a way to build up enough resources to go off and to find the anti-artifact measures he needs to blow up Syed's lock pieces.
Other side of things here for Zan. 4 Unmoored Ego. That's a lot of those. 3 Psy Master Thopters, 3 Tezzeret Agent of Bolas, a Chalice of the Void, a Battle Bridge, a Spellskite, a Swan Song, and a Torpor Orb.
I like the Swan Song and the Chalice of the Void. I don't know if this is a great matchup for Psy. I think that's more for kind of, creature matchups or anti-shatter measures, and I don't think that's really the thing going on here.
I think I'd want some number of Unmoored Egos.
Sure. I guess my concern here is that the Storm deck is kind of spread out enough post-board where I don't know if there's like a thing to tag, but it's probably above board here. No, you're right. They're thin enough. Yeah, you can get them.
There's 2 Grave Shots and an Empty. And then after sideboard, are they bringing in anything?
Another Empty. They're only up to 4, yeah.
I also just don't think you're going to lose to Empty very often. I could be wrong about that, but...
No, it does slide under a lot of your measures, and the thing is, it's not trivial for this deck to get empty-handed that early on in the game to enable Ensnaring Bridge. Previous builds of this deck had so many just 1-mana Garbo artifacts that you could flood the battlefield with that Ensnaring Bridge was on a lot faster. I think this deck probably takes a bit longer to get empty-handed.
All right, well, Zan's going to do some sideboarding here. Same with Nick Edwards, and Nick will be on the play here in game number 2. Both these players are 5-0, and we're going to take some time now to go over the SCG Tour Season 1 schedule here, folks, where we started things off in Columbus, and it was the team of Ethan Gillespie and Abe Corrigan that actually got the W there. It seems so long ago that we had that Team Modern Open, but that's where Gillespie and Corrigan got their seasons off to, honestly, a great start.
Yes. And, they've been leveraging that to fill out the top 16 on the leaderboard ever since. Past that, Worcester.
Well, Dom Harvey won that one.
Yes, Indy.
I'm trying to remember who won that one. I'm doing a little bit of cheating right now. Indy, we were there.
Yes, we were.
Is it release weekend?
I think so.
I know so. Anthony DeVardi with Saltai.
Yep.
Got it. All right.
Baltimore.
That one was Liz Lynn, Ryan Overturf, and Jacob Hagan, our Team Constructed Open.
Dallas.
That one was Robert Wagner Krenkel, getting everyone the beatdowns with Mono Blue.
Syracuse.
I was not there, but Rich Colley won the Legacy Open, and then regional championships.
Name them all.
Shut up.
All right. So now we're in Philly. And let's go in the rest of the schedule. Teams in Cincinnati, one open in April, but we're going to make it count. In Cleveland, that's modern. And then May's pretty tight schedule here with Richmond, which is standard, Syracuse, which is standard, and then a modern open in Louisville. And then that takes us to the SEG Con Summer Invitational, June 7th through 9th. Standard and modern as the invitational formats, but a ton of Magic to be played across all competitive and casual formats.
It is worth noting we got some playmats associated with all of these tournaments, folks. For our standard Open and Classic players, it's Botanical Growth here by Victor Adame Minguez. For our modern Open and Classic players, it's Star Crowned Angel by Greg Staples. And for our Legacy Open and Classic players, it is Lost Stone Citadel by Adam Paquette. Those playmats made specifically here for the SCG Tour. And they're free and exclusive playmats with entry into any Open Classic, Infinite Challenge, or Seal Spectacular package. Go to StarCityGames.com/schedule for more information. As we get ready here for game number 2 between Zan Syed and Nick Edwards. The captain of Team Lotus Box is off to another great start. 27 years old. From Atlanta, Georgia is Zan Syed. He's a Lakers fan, apparently.
Said he grew up in LA.
Yeah.
So
Tough season, bro. 18 Opens played last year, 5 Open top 8s, 9 Open top 8s on the resume all time with 1 Open win last year with Banned Spirits. He enjoys exploring new restaurants and new cities as long as they are rated 4.5 stars or higher, apparently.
talked about that. I don't know what rating system he's using. So,
I assume Yelp. I assume.
but then you're subjecting yourself to the flavor of the masses.
The Yelpers, as it were.
Go on to Yelp and find out what McDonald's is rated on Yelp.
I'm not going to do that. I actually just refuse to do that.
I left one review on Yelp and received hate mail from the staff as a result. So I don't use it a whole lot.
That one experience just
Yeah, you think you think with a restaurant that crappy they'd had plenty to do with their time, but nope. Just DMing people on Yelp.
2 stars for McDonald's on
Okay.
Yelp. So how do you feel about Yelp now?
I think 2 stars is a reasonable rating.
I think they got
That's
the rating
totally
right.
fair. I think that's a totally fair.
I think they
rating.
just got the rating flat right for McDonald's.
Yeah.
I had McDonald's for breakfast on Friday. Mm-hmm. Give it about 2.
Yeah. I frequent McDonald's a lot more than I used to because it's just, my schedule's pretty tight. Kids and family and all that. And so McDonald's is occasionally this reprieve I do while I'm running errands. We'll literally sit in the parking lot and eat an Egg McMuffin for 5 minutes and then go back to whatever I was doing. It's not a good habit.
Did you at least get the hash brown too?
2 of them.
There you go. It's like 2 for 99 cents or something.
Helps me nap.
How are they staying open with prices like that?
I don't understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They're basically giving away the food.
They're giving it away.
Assuming that it is food, they're just giving it away.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. But yeah, Shamrock Shake back on it looks like back on Monday.
I recently, over some mild protestations from my wife, purchased my daughter her first Happy Meal a couple weeks ago.
Aptly named.
Yeah, she thought it was the coolest thing. The toy, though, kind of was like a projectile launcher. She fired it off in the car a bunch, so that was irritating.
That's probably
It was still cool.
It's probably a little difficult to drive when that's happening.
Yeah. Well, you just take the toy in your hand and put it in the cup holder and say you can have it when you get home.
And then that's that.
Yeah.
That's that. Okay. Lessons for when I have children. You just take the toy, and then you just put that game on pause until they're home. Got it. It'll be a Serum Visions here for Nick Edwards. Draw a card and scry 2. Kicking things off with a Spire Bluff Canal. Split the difference on the scry. 1 on top, 1 on bottom, heading back over to Zan Syed, who won game number 1 with one of those main deck copies of Damping Sphere. Something that Storm has some real difficulty beating because I was mistaken in the first game. Actually, Unsubstantiated can't bounce it. Unsubstantiated says basically you return target spell or creature to the opponent's hand.
Well, if that's the case, then I definitely don't like gifting for the repeal.
Me either. Me either. I like that.
Just
much less.
you guys got to keep it in the deck and hope to draw it.
Yep. Repeal was the only out there. Zan going to search up an island here with that Misty Rainforest, fall down to 19. And now it's a couple welding. Just what is happening? All these 0 mana artifacts. 2 welding jars, a bauble, a Mox Opal, a Thopter Foundry.
Okay.
Bauble targeting Nick. Take a look to see that, all right, pieces of the puzzle is the draw. And Zan will get to draw from the bauble and his draw step, I believe, now. 1 and 2. Haven't seen a lot of Mox Opal action here this weekend.
Still good, though.
Yeah, still good. You better believe it. There's Water Graves untapped. Zan's going to fall down to 17. Just going to pass the turn back, maybe with Whir at the ready. This is a Baral, Chief of Compliance. Looks like Zan may have something to do with the end step, but he's not sure just yet.
Magic players in the two-headed giant Sealed Spectacular. In the Sealed Spectacular, your round 1.
And now there's a Whir of Invention.
At the gathering point. Once again, players in the Sealed Spectacular and two-headed giant Sealed Spectacular, your round 1 pairings have been.
So let's see what this is going to be. So many options in the deck. Doesn't seem like a good time to go against Snaring Bridge. Could be a good place to get Damping Sphere. Or there could be some other hate artifact here that we're not even thinking of that he could go grab. This deck plays so many of them.
No, I mean, that's pretty much the list here. I would be interested to see if it's anything except for Sphere or Sword, depending on what the rest of his hand looks like.
Well, there's the Sphere. So that kind of answers that question.
And a lot of cover with those welding jars from a Shatter effect, but no cover from Bounce. And obviously Shatter Storm would be a major pain.
Inventor's Fair is the land. And now the play is Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. So the goal is to get this game over with as quickly as possible, it appears.
Yeah, you don't want to sit too far behind, sit for too long here, assuming that your Damping Sphere is good against a deck with Bounce and potentially Shatter Storms.
Well, the Tez is going to plus, so the loyalty goes from 3 to 4. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So that was a spell set that was revealed. -1, target artifact becomes a 5/5 artifact creature. And then the -4 is target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is twice the number of artifacts you control. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts. Oh no.
There we go.
Oh no.
We got a game.
Shatterstorm is going to destroy all of those, even the Mox Opal.
Oh, yeah.
Take that one with you, too. And now here's an attack for 1 on the Tezzeret. And this game has certainly taken a turn.
Shatter Storm has picked up a little bit in recent weeks.
I would argue a lot of it. Wanting to beat this deck specifically. And the problem with War Prison, for lack of a better term, is that they give you enough time to find it because they don't control your draw step like Lantern did.
But fortunately for Zan, you know, as long as he has the Tezzeret in play, there's a chance to rebuild. Now, the problem is there could be a limited number of cards of note for him to draw from this spot. You know, the Sphere, I believe, is just a one of. It's got some anti-artifact, anti-graveyard stuff rather that's helpful here, though.
Well, Nile Spellbomb is a start. And, you know, Tezzeret, it's not the slowest clock. Get the game over with. Another Mox Opal, Spell Skite, pass a turn back. Depends on what Nick's hand looks like, which we know is all spells because there was no third land played. There's the pieces of the puzzle. And pass the turn back after some lands go into the graveyard. We'll head back over to Zan. Zan will gain a life so long as he remembers with the Inventor's Fair, because there are 3 artifacts in the battlefield in Mox Opal, Spell Skite, and Nile Spellbomb. So up to 18 goes the team captain of Lotus Box. Tess is going to go up to 5, so he'll take a look at the top 5 cards and take an artifact with him. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of the deck. A couple copies of Sword of the Meek, among others there for Zan Syed. Looks like Mox Opal will be the choice. The rest of those cards will go to the bottom of the deck. Chalice of the Void for 2.
This covers Grape Shot, and it covers the reasonable shatters you could guess that Edward has. A Braid being the most likely.
Now here comes another Mox and Spellskite to protect that Chalice. Maybe an artifact destruction spell or a bounce spell.
And without access to the rituals, it's really hard to imagine Edward's getting to a spot where he could Passive Flames the Shatterstorm back.
Yeah, we're probably a little ways away from that, huh?
Yeah, that's a long ways away.
Maybe, yeah. All right, Tezzeret going up some more. There's a Mishra's Bauble. Now remember, Zan isn't interested in 2-mana spells either because of the Chalice. There's a Bauble. An Island. 5 artifacts on the battlefield right now. That makes you wonder if Tezzeret's going to start turning artifacts into 5/5s, and we're going to try to start attacking that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Syed, your position's really good, but you'd still, you know, you don't want to give Edwards all the time in the world. But I don't know. Maybe it's just so unlikely that the Chalice goes anywhere that you can be really conservative here. Two is just so many of their cards.
Another copy of pieces of the puzzle. 5 cards.
3 2s.
Yep. So this Chalice is locking out Brawl, Electromancer, Pyretic Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Manamorphose, Unsubstantiate,
Grape Shot.
Grape Shot.
A Braid.
Yep. Echoing Truth. Boy, that's a lot. That's a lot of cards to lock out with 1 card. Chalice of the Void looking dominant right now. Zan has a Witchbane Orb on the battlefield, too.
Well, use the Inventor's Fair on that one, but
sure,
you know.
That'll be coming soon. Just to further lock this game up, or at least try to. Draw from the bobble, draw for turn. There's the Witchbane Orb. So now Zan has Hexproof. And now Tezzeret, which way do you want to go?
I don't mind turning the Chalice into a 5/5 and getting busy here.
Starting to give some beatdowns.
Yeah.
Looks like Spellskite's going to get tough. Hiya! In for 5.
I think Edwards' hand is just all 2s
I think you're right.
and Past in Flames.
It's like just discarding Manamorphose. Yeah, the pressure that Zan can put on here with Tezzeret, like right now, he gets to attack with Spellskite, and if Nick just takes it, he gets the ultimate Tezzeret and the game's over. Because it'll be a 10-pointer. And this, I mean, this works too, which is just a minus and say, let's do it again.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, Edwards can take the hit from the other 5/5 and go to 5, so maybe it's better to just attack first, and if Edwards doesn't block, then you shoot, you have lethal. If he does block, you go do something else.
Well, here's a copy of Unmoored Ego, as Edwards did go down to 10. Curious to see what's going to be named here. Keep in mind, Zan did not activate Tezzeret just yet. Thought about activating it, but didn't. There you see Unmoored Ego. Choose a card name. Search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name and exile them. That player shuffles their library, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. So oftentimes we used to see these lobotomy-esque effects cost 4. This one costs 3, and it clears the way for a Tezzeret Ultimate. Zan Syed going to win this game and match over Nick Edwards 2-0. The prison has been established. There will be no prison breaks here. War Prison